Hi, beautiful tribe. Sheea here from Austin, Texas today. And for those of you who are new and don't know me yet, I am a long-standing Tantra specialist, 17 years now. And oh, how do you like that? Empowering people in the field of relationships and sacred sexuality. And I have this channel to share that knowledge with you all as best I can without being in person, because I do a lot of in-person sessions, helping people get the techniques down and body memory of that. And I also have a lot of knowledge in the areas of spirituality and health and wellness and biohacking and any number of things that I come on the channel to share about. Today, this morning, I was really impressed upon to do a channeling that was from what was being called the Divine Masculine Council. It was a message to a good chunk of the percentage of men on the planet that needed to hear that message. So I'm just going to kind of talk about some of the highlights of what some of the points were, and then I'll probably share it more in depth, but I just wanted to I feel led to do it this way first. And so this isn't for all men, but it is for a good chunk of the collective of men who need to hear. It's kind of like a wake-up call, and we're all awakening from and deprogramming from the old programming, really from the media largely, that comes to us. So just being aware of the fact that the media in all its so many forms, from social media to movies to TV programming and the like, advertising and music, music videos, there's just so many ways that they try to, it's almost like a form of brainwashing, really. And it's a form of programming, honestly, that serves their purpose. The leadership that was kind of crumbling right now, and we're going through the changing of the guard as far as our leadership goes, and the old is going out and the new is going to be coming in. And so I just want you to be aware that media in all forms is a form of programming. So it's not something you just want to take in kind of lackadaisically. It's kind of actually fun as a game to listen to what's being said, or the programming of whatever message or movie, what kind of things they're sharing, and being like, sometimes I'm literally talking to the TV going yeah, right, and it's just, that's not reality. Media is a way to try to form and shape reality, especially for the collective. And, more and more I'm being awakened to the fact of how unrealistic it is. But yet somehow when we get programmed by it and we listen to it enough and see it enough, we kind of think it's the norm. And, I'm aware that any kind of show that you might be watching is so unrealistic as far as true life, because they're cutting out all the kind of the mundane parts of it, because otherwise we wouldn't sit there and watch it. So they're just sort of giving you the highlights and giving you enough to get the storyline to work. But it also can be a little bit of a disservice, because we sometimes compare ourselves to these characters and wonder why we can't just put together a wedding in 1 week the way, to the degree that they did, or how, any number of feats, or say an adventure show, more of the male dominated ones where it's all about action and stuff. And of course they're able to take so many blows and so many, go through so many fights and, and, fall from the sky and all these things without really having to go through the weeks of healing and recovery that it would require if anyone went through that amount of physical impact. Okay, so anyway, enough of that. I just wanted to kind of wake you up that yes, our TV shows and music and unfortunately our movies and stuff, a lot of times they will have good messages, but a lot of times they also are using it to kind of to hope to program you into this new normal that they want you to believe in. And you know, being in the area of sacred sexuality and Tantra and relationships and love, one way that has happened big time in that field is through pornography. So this was one of the ways that they brought up messages today when I was channeling this morning, is they were sharing with men, and this is for the men who need to hear this, because some of you have grown beyond it and already gotten there and already woken up and you're on your way, but there's a big majority of men who needed to hear this message. And so, you know, it can be a little bit triggering or kind of a like, wow, wake up call. But, you know, sometimes we don't realize that, you know, as much as we would like to say that can separate fantasy from reality, pornography is another example of how when you watch it enough, you start thinking that that's reality and that that's what you're going to recreate in your love life. And it is not realistic. It is an illusion. It's a fantasy. They're not showing you all the things that are necessary to pull off a healthy connection. And the reason why they brought this up is because men specifically have been targeted to, you know, it's been part of the scheme, you know, kind of against men because you guys are more prone to this kind of programming. And unfortunately, the basic message of it is that how I'm going to dissect for you, because this is what they did in the channeling, why this is undermining our culture and our relationships. So imagine a world without porn. First of all, if you take that piece out, you can't use it as a crutch. You can't use it as a band-aid. You can't use it to take care of your loneliness in the moment. You can't use it to get off because you don't have anything else going on maybe. It's not readily available where you can just turn on a screen and access it. And what would we be doing instead if we didn't have porn type stuff to engage in? It would cause you, especially men, it would cause you to put in the work to connect with women in real time, in reality. But instead, a lot of you are caught in this cyberspace of illusion fantasy that's somehow meeting your need in the moment so that you don't have to work at connecting with women. You just get to watch it on the screen and not have to earn it or work for it. And you get lazy, is what they were saying. Because instead of getting the skills to connect with women effectively in dating and in relationship, it's so easy to just default into, oh, I'll just watch some porn and take care of myself. And then you're just right back where you started, where you're not working and practicing those skills to connect with women, and you're not motivated because you're just getting off on some fantasy images. And whereas if you didn't have that as a crutch, you would be seeking out women and trying to connect with them in meaningful ways that leads to that kind of intimacy. Only it would be true intimacy instead of just some sexual acrobatics that are entertaining. So anyway, like imagine if we not only just got rid of porn, but got rid of all media. So I experienced this when I went to Russia. in 1991, I went to Russia, and I was a part of a international performance group that was bringing spiritual messages to the country that otherwise was walled up and kind of like in this isolation where they wouldn't let any missionaries in, or spiritual concepts in to help the people. And when they finally did in 1991, I was the first group from YWAM, which is an organization that's worldwide called Youth with a Mission, to bring in spiritual principles to these people who were so hungry to have more than just atheism at their disposal. And we did it through mime and dance and translators and in creative ways, clowning, and with these strong messages to the people. And one of the things that really stood out to me there was they did not have all this American media bombarding them constantly. They did not have TVs, and for the most part, the average person did not have TVs and all this materialism at their disposal, and shopping wasn't a part of their life at all. You just went to the store to get a specific thing you needed, and there was no extras, no frills. It was very practical, and just a completely different reality. But there was something so refreshing about that, not to be constantly bombarded by all these images from the media and, images of perfect looking people that you're supposed to live up to, and just constantly being bombarded with messages, period. It was like so quiet and still, and it was all about being together. And in a way I was like, God, they have it better than we do, because they at least get to focus on what's important, which is each other. Their time wasn't taken up by all these other distractions and medias and that we engage in, how many hours per day. And it was all about being together. So it really changed the reality of life and how we spent our time. And of course, being there, we were all about sharing spirituality and uplifting messages and, the good news, hope, joy, and, the power that we have in prayer and all this kind of thing. And it was just really refreshing not to have to deal with that. And of course, they got programming in their own ways, but it's just, this is just a point I'm making, that unfortunately, because men, you have so much more testosterone and you're more driven sexually, which is how it was designed to be, but it also makes you a target for the porn industry. And when you engage too much in pornography, you become weak in your skills with women. And then you start projecting those images of what you're seeing and what turns you on, or onto real women who are like, what? I'm not doing that. What's in it for me? And so it's creating a rift. And when I channeled them this morning, they were wanting to make that point come across, that it has gotten to the point now where women are just checking out of the dating game completely, because they're just fed up with being treated like they're only valuable if they're sexual, and that it's sort of just become this almost like abusive, low vibrational dating version of modern day connection. And it's completely missing the point. And they were talking about how sexuality is like the culmination of a thriving relationship. And yet it's completely turned upside down in our culture, where it's like men are so hungry for it that they're just going after the women for that, and they're skipping all these other steps, and like building trust and investing and getting to know her, and they're just wanting this sexual connection like right away, And that the women, especially the conscious ones who are awakening at rapid speeds and who have gained a certain level of empowerment and self-sufficiency, are just really disenchanted with what they're seeing in the dating, and kind of being forced to find other ways to make life fulfilling than to wait on a man to show up finally in a conscious way that can meet her truly. So I will break this down, further in other videos, because it was kind of a long channeling that I just wanted it to come through me all at once for now, and then give you bite-sized pieces of it. But yeah, we're reaching that point where those of you men who relate to the idea that, I'm not really reaching out to women, I'm not asking them out, I'm not even really flirting with them anymore, I'm not going out of my way to connect with them and get to know them. If that's you, then there's this level of kind of laziness that has gotten in there, where you're just maybe relying on pornography or some form of it, or an unhealthy dating situation where you're kind of just getting your needs met through different women, of dating them, really, which is more of a form of kind of almost, honestly, it's gotten to the point where you're almost wanting women to just be a prostitute, but not having to pay them. It's that bad. This is how bad it's gotten. So we need to wake up to this, right? So men, now that you are getting these messages, if this is you, because it may not be you, but if you fall in that bracket of men who are doing that and sort of not realizing, hey, this isn't healthy, this isn't sustainable, then you have a choice now to make some decisions about what you'd like to do about it. How would you like to make some changes in your life around this? Maybe put all that energy that you normally are watching pornography related things, and put that into getting some skills with Tantra, with how to talk with women effectively, having good communication skills, learning about the 5 love languages and the erotic blueprint types, and all, geek out on stuff that's actually going to empower you instead of desensitize you. And because honestly, pornography is just a cheap substitute for the real thing. It's just a band-aid. It's just a temporary quick fix. And because you're not having to actually earn or work for that kind of intimacy with the woman on the screen, it makes you lazy. And so there's a certain level of entitlement that has happened. And it's a real turnoff to women, to real women. We see it a mile away, and it's just like, ugh, he's just, typical guy. He's not really that conscious, and there's no future in this for me. And a lot of women are finding themselves having to kind of look to their career instead, and they're realizing they've been waiting a long time to feel truly met by a man, and tired of being approached as though they're just a sexual being and that's all they're good for, and it's completely missing all that they are. Women need to be seen and heard for all the magic that they are, because there's a lot of magic there, and we're the ones leading us into this revolutionary shift on our planet. That's what they say. And Western women are leading the way. That's what the prophecy is. And so this is part of the awakening process, guys, is to just see, and be aware that, just know that you might want to shift away from that kind of lifestyle that's keeping you from the real connection with women, and keeping you from having the skill sets needed to stay on top of your game, so that you can actually attract, a worthwhile woman into your life and sustain it, because of what you're providing, and how you're making her life better, how you're making each other's lives better. And so I'm going to leave it there for today, as far as just a little bit of a heads up of, what's coming with just being aware of how the different media we take in, and the messages from songs, and is that really what you believe in and want to be having your subconscious listening to all the time? Just check in, and pick the wholesome stuff, that's going to uplift you, and that's positive, and that raises your vibration, as opposed to the opposite, because there's been a real breakdown, a considerable, noticeable breakdown between men and women in their ability to connect in a conscious way, as far as a generality on the planet, because of how sexuality has gotten so monetized, and just unconscious sexuality being sold, and how it's kind of replacing the real deal, which is not true intimacy, and it's not going to lead to true fulfillment. So anyway, I hope that's helpful, and I hope that was eye-opening, because we all need to help each other as we wake up and realize these different programs that we kind of get mesmerized by, or maybe fall into unknowingly, and then you probably didn't realize it was that unhealthy, right? You're just thinking, oh, it's just something I enjoy. But you got to be aware there's a lot of messaging in there that's not very respectful towards women, and we feel it. And there's enough women, they said in the channeling that I did this morning, enough women that are realizing that, wow, I may not be able to count on finding a conscious man to match me in this lifetime. The way things are going right now, I mean, we're all waking up, and so I know you guys are going to come around, but let's do this sooner than later, because there's a lot of conscious, amazing, empowered women who are waiting for their mates, and a lot of you just frankly aren't ready to truly match those women, and they've worked so hard to get to the top of the mountain, and there's no men there to truly greet them and be available to them. Not enough of you. And so I want to get more of you on that mountaintop, so that all those amazing women have true matches, because they are worth being with, let me tell you. And a lot of them are my friends, and they're these conscious women are not willing to settle. They find that they're better off alone than in a unconscious relationship that's not thriving. So may this be inspiration for you to step up your game, perhaps learn a little bit about Tantra and about understanding women. And that's what I'm all about. And that's why I have phone sessions, video sessions, in-person sessions, to empower you in every way possible to have success with women.